Hello, hello, everybody. Hello. Let's get this set up. We will wait for people to join us for Let's Talk Mental Health with Miguel and Tangible Movement. Just going to give it a second for our guests to join us. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Let's see if they should be joining us any minute. Oh, they're sending me a text. Let's see. Hello, everyone. Hello. We are waiting for our guests to come in so we can talk mental health. Let's see. Let's see if our guests can join us. I hope everyone's having a good Tuesday. There they are. Coming, Tangible Movement. Got our first guest coming up. Let's see. Hey, Tori.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you want to give it a second? I haven't seen if
Yeah,
Miguel
yeah,
has joined. Okay.
definitely.
Awesome. 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 How are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. Doing well. Good. Good Tuesday? Tuesday so far?
Yeah, it feels like Friday. It feels like Friday for
I
sure.
know. I know. I know. For everyone joining in, hello. We're just waiting a second for our guests to join us so we can get going with our mental health chat. I'm now regretting wearing a sweater. Already so hot. Not the best idea. It's okay. It was okay. Do you want to send him a message to join? Hello, everybody. We're just waiting for our guests to join. Hello, hello. So we can talk all things mental health for Mental Health Awareness Month. Just waiting for our guest to join. Hello. Oh, so many people. Hello. Wave, wave, wave. Oh, I lost one. Let's see. She'll come back. I'm so excited as well. Just waiting, giving our West Coast peoples time to hop in so we can get going. Hi. It's been a while. How are you? Hello, hello. I gotta get them back. Let's see. So we can talk with Miguel and talk with Tori about mental health. Okay, so we got one. Let's get Tori in here. And then let's get Miguel. All right. So Miguel should be joining us in just a second.
There
There he
he
is.
is.
Hi.
Hey, Miguel, what's
Yeah.
up?
Hi.
How you doing?
Excellent. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So I'm just gonna open us off and then I'll kick it to Tori. Tori, then you can introduce Tangible Movement and then we can get our conversation going.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
Awesome. So welcome everybody to Let's Talk Mental Health. My name is Christina Broderick. I am the CEO and founder of both Broderick & Co. and IgnitEDU, where it is our mission to make sure that mental health education is accessible, practical, and sustainable. And today we are here talking about mental health for Mental Health Awareness Month. So I'm going to kick it over to Tori Shack to talk a little bit about herself and Tangible Movement, and then she'll introduce her ambassador, Miguel, and we'll get started.
Thanks, Christina. Yeah, my name is Tori Shack. I am the executive director and founder of Tangible Movement. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization with purpose to inspire, educate, and provide tangible support for individuals who are struggling with mental health conditions, racial and gender inequality, LGBTQIA, and addiction issues. I also work with an organization called Destinations for Teens that has 3 residential treatment centers in Woodland Hills. So if you have any teens out there that are struggling with mental health, primary, and addiction, hit me up, and you can talk from there. Other than that, we'll get right to it, and I'm going to introduce Miguel. my fave. Miguel, I'm not going to say what year you're born, but you were born and raised in San Pedro, California. And if you don't mind me saying, you're half Black and half Mexican. You have a Black mother and a Mexican father. You started your music career around 13, I believe. I'm going by memory here. And you're an Grammy Award winner, singer-songwriter. With the fantastic release of Kaleidoscope Dream, that was in 2012. And now you are not only a musician, singer, songwriter, but also entrepreneur with a clothing line coming out and a bunch of other stuff that you can also talk about, NFTs and all that good stuff. But Miguel is he is going for the gamut, okay? And and it's really, really awesome to see. I've known Miguel for 7 years, 8 years now, and seen the changes over time and know his story. So I'm very happy to be here to help facilitate this conversation that Christina is going to have with Miguel. With that, I'll hand it on over to Miguel and Christina.
Awesome. So to start us off, Miguel, can you just talk to us a little bit about your journey with mental health and why you're so open about talking about it with people?
Yeah, and first and foremost, thank you again. Really happy to be here and share the space. And to everyone who's watching, thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully, this is something whatever we get to share, helps and add some value in your journey. But yeah, in terms of speaking about mental health, I just know there's a kid out there that is going through similar pressures that I went through, that I've experienced, being of mixed race, coming from a single family home, and plenty of people who have experienced even more challenging circumstances. And so I think because there weren't that many people that looked like me, even family members that I know that go through their own personal struggles, just not necessarily having those tough conversations to get to a better place. I just feel like, in terms of adding value to people, I think this one of the best things I could do with my time is to just, share that it's something that every single human being sort of deals with. So just try my best to add value.
Yeah, and it's how we end the stigma, right? It's by having these open conversations and being so ready and willing to talk about it. And I also come from a single parent household, from a Caribbean background. And I know typically that mental health isn't talked about in the home, right? And if you want to share your experience in terms of your community and growing up, it was you just dealt with life, right? We weren't used to talking about the things that we are going through internally. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I think it's something that will evolve with time. I think there's plenty of I think attention going to the space and to the need to make it a very normal conversation and something that's considered, even early on. I think that's the way that we sort of outgrow any of the perceived limitations that, we've grown accustomed to acknowledging. And for those of us who've been able to, really hone in and have the kind of bandwidth to focus their time and energy on a specific goal, being able to sort of break through with some of those ceilings and find new limits and push through those, I think that process, understanding what that requires, it makes you look at, you know, how much the conversation is valuable the sooner you have it. So
Yeah.
wanting to have it, you know, earlier, I think is probably the biggest motivation, because then we can help more people, you know, and younger,
Hmm.
next generations, newer generations sort of achieve their, you know, their greatness for themselves,
Yeah.
which is exciting.
Yeah. Would you be able to talk to us about your process in moving through that kind of like mindset shift so that like in terms of understanding the importance of mental health and doing some of that work yourself?
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, it just was like hitting rock bottom
Yeah.
for me,
Hmm.
and so hopefully to save people from that sort of turmoil, like internal conflict, chaos in life, and how that sort of
Hmm.
manifests. Like, I think it's, I'm very much wanting to have those conversations and let people know, like, no, like, people hit rock bottom, and you can avoid that, you know,
Yeah.
and if we can help even just one person do that, I think it's not. And then for those people who are on their way or in the middle of, you
Yeah.
know, giving them that bit of insight, personal insight, and letting them know that it's okay,
Hmm.
that there's, you know, you can move past that and grow better, grow
Yeah.
stronger. I think is really dope too.
Yeah, it's like there's two sides of it. It's like we want to be proactive in terms of the education and the strategies and the skills and the awareness. But then if you find yourself in rock bottom, right, like knowing that there's a way to help you move through it, right, and move past it, that you don't have to just think that that's it and that's the end,
Yeah.
right, and being able to understand that for ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think if we also reflect on 2020 and all that we've been seeing in here in the United States and even in the world, right? If we bring in race and our socioeconomic status and demographics, but then even you within the music industry, how has those factors shaped your mental health over the past few years? I can imagine, especially within the music industry, how that has been something that's really monumental and can take a toll on one's mental health.
Yeah, it's been a very adverse, you know, year and some months,
Mhm.
for everyone. Um, I think it seemed like it was never ending in terms of like what was being stacked. You know, it just was,
Mhm.
you know, we lost Kobe and as a personal hero, then COVID and kind of the sort of the watching the news and being glued to that, and sort of the
Mhm.
anticipation and the anxiety is a whole kind of thing of its own, right?
Yeah.
Then all of the, you know, all of this, the injustice that we were seeing sort of proliferate, and you know, it's nothing that we're not aware of or that we didn't know existed, but for it to be in the spotlight, and
Mhm.
for it to be such a conversation, um, I think even for me, like repressed emotions of things that I've seen, and then having conversations with people who really wanted to be educated and really learn, and you know, it was just a lot to navigate. And then
Mhm.
you bring in, you know, everyone's economic, you know, whatever they were dealing with economically, because everyone took some sort of hit in
Yeah.
their way, you know. Um, so, you know, dealing with that, watching, you know, unemployment, watching people losing their homes and all of these kind, just a lot. There's a lot to process. So
Mhm.
I think the best thing in that time for me was to really manage my attention to some of the negativity,
Mhm.
to stay aware, just for me, because I think everyone has their own threshold of what they can and cannot
Yeah.
process, on top of their day to day, you know, what they have to get done. Um, but managing that, and then sort of relegating that to a certain space, and then going, okay, this is me time. This is what I need for
Yeah.
me to stay in top performance shape, top mental place. And
Mhm.
I think even just that practice, to pay that kind of attention and have the awareness to go like, okay, this is my limit. Okay,
Mhm.
now I need me time, or I need to cut this time out for me. I
Yeah.
gotta I gotta step away from the TV, turn the news off for me, so that I can do what I'm here to do. It was super valuable.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until, because we grow up in a society, especially here in the States, where it's like, get to the money.
Yes.
Let's get to
Yes.
the
Hustle,
money.
hustle, hustle.
You
Yes.
know, then you open up Instagram or you open up your favorite whatever, and you see everyone doing it, you know, and going, and they're posting their best life and what they did and what they accomplished, what they're, you know, where they're headed. You know, it can create a sort of a pressure that in a lot of ways is not necessarily realistic. It's not healthy, because you're not seeing what everyone's individual bandwidth is. You know, you're only seeing a very small sliver of their reality. And I think if we invest too much of our belief in that, we start to get into that cycle where we can easily lose sight of our own, you know, our own needs, our own, you know, maintenance. So just trying to be as what is that, when you're vigilant about those things, you know? Yeah.
And I love that you bring that up, because as a therapist and being in the mental health education space, people always ask, like, where do I start? And I always say awareness. Like, you have to be able to understand yourself more, right? Understanding what you go through, what you experience, knowing your limits, right? And that way you can move forward with more intention, right? You can start taking action that is actually best for you than just like doing things that are on Instagram and trying things that like are on Google, right? If you start from a place of internalized awareness, it can then move forward. You can move forward, right, into those more holistic spaces. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then moving into thinking of that and moving forward with intention, what are some practices, mental health practices, that you do to help keep your mental health at the forefront?
Man, the real beginning, and this is actually probably something that is hard to put you know, it's like hard to tell anyone, because everyone's diet is different. How you were raised and how you're, you know, how you eat, it's very specific to your culture, where you grew up, access, all those things factor into it, right? About 3 years ago, I rarely bring this up because it's not as easily actionable, but it's something that I think is important to share. I started feeling real, you know, real deep depression, and not clear on why. This is around the same time as my grandmother passing. My grandfather was definitely getting sick, and he was deteriorating in his health. And so I was sort of processing sort of, you know, grief. So there was a reason, but there was also it was almost less grief depression. It felt very like unworthiness, a lot of deeper things that had nothing to do with family or loss. And I was really trying to get to the bottom of where these things were coming from. And I went and saw, it took a couple doctors to see specialists, and I found a doctor, like a holistic doctor. And we started healing my gut when I realized that, you know, all of the sort of the things that allow your brain and your body to produce the chemicals needed to feel good, to feel energy, to be productive, all those things, that's all chemical. And the center of that is your gut, is your stomach. So I'm in my 30s, you know, my whole life I wasn't necessarily paying attention to my health, my gut health. I was eating whatever, you know, whatever we see at the time.
There's something about 30. Once we hit 30, it's like, oh, I need to actually like do something.
You hit that, yeah, you hit that. It's time for an oil change. And actually my first kind of experience with that was with Tori. She was the first one to actually go, hey, like, your car needs an oil change every so often. Like, when we first started working out, that's how we met. Actually, she was my trainer. Got me in the best, mind you, got me in the best shape of my life. So if anyone out there,
I need to move to California.
Right?
Thanks, Miguel.
Oh,
I appreciate it.
Even over FaceTime, she'll make sure you get it done. But she introduced me to this concept, and so when I started feeling not like myself, I started seeking out the same process and trying to get to the nuts and bolts of sort of my personal, how my makeup, what's best for me, what I should avoid. And the very first thing that made a big difference was healing the lining of my stomach. There's a number of products out there that you can get that you basically you put it in a drink, you put it in like hot water or cold water, you drink it daily until it's done. And what it does, it help replenish your the lining of your stomach. And that's tied to things like leaky gut. But this is something that's actionable. I'm telling you, it sounds disgusting, but most people in their 30s by this point, even younger, because of all of the toxins that we just consume and we're subject to, our gut health is not where it should be. That has a massive effect on your mind state, your headspace. So for anyone watching that has never considered that, I would highly, highly recommend looking into healing your gut, the lining of your stomach. It will change so much. I recommended to my mother, completely helped her with her health and so on and so forth, and has plenty of benefits. You can look up the research, YouTube and Google, right? But more actionable day-to-day things, it's routine for me. Wake up, throw my gym clothes on. I get an 8-minute power workout. It's just basically high intensity interval training. And that's 30 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. I do 12 rounds of that. And that puts me, I get my heart rate up. I'm clear. At least I've woken my body up. I've gotten some movement in. Then I get a meditation in. I try and read something every day, because the very best to do it, we're always learning. That's a key. When you look up tools for people who are massively successful, they're readers. They're always consuming. They're keeping their mind placid. All these things in connection with each other, kind of taking care of your headspace from those three different perspectives: from a physical place, from a spiritual place, and then from like a educational place. That's helps tremendously. And it's given me the bandwidth to go, okay, I'm not really right now. I need to step away and do some maintenance, or I'm in a great place. I can focus on A, B, and C and get this done. And I think I would attribute sort of these simple practices on a day-to-day basis to, I guess, my ability to execute not only in music now, but as an entrepreneur, as even here in these spaces, to be able to go, oh, I have the bandwidth to share. There's, people need to hear this. And so, in the midst of managing, being a producer, a writer, a musician, an artist, a husband, a brother, a friend, then building businesses and being a partner and helping give voice to ideas and products and services that are good for the earth and don't come at the detriment of human beings or our planet. I think I would attribute it all to these daily practices. So for anyone out there, highly recommend those three.
And your meditation too.
That's in there. I think I mentioned it, but it was real quick.
And you bring up so there's a book called The Mind-Gut Connection, right? And it really talks deeply about that, right? How your gut and what's happening in your gut really doesn't impact your mental health. And I sporadically will do detoxes, and people think it's for weight loss. And I'm like, no, it's for my mental health. Like by the end of it, I have so much more clarity. I have so much more energy. Because I usually don't eat as many fruits and vegetables as I should.
Same.
But and it takes the opportunity to make sure that I'm being intentional about what is going in my body. And it's just amazing when you could just start to notice that connection, right, between that mind and your gut, as well as exercise. And it's like they tell you this when you're a kid, but you don't really believe it. But stress, right, is a physical occurrence. And in order to close that stress cycle, you need to have some type of physical activity, like exercise. So it is the number one way for us to reduce stress. But we would rather do a million other things, right, I think, than like hop on it. And I'm speaking to myself. I'm not. I might have to hit up Tori after this. But exercise, while we know it's the number one way to reduce stress, it just still can be so hard for so many people. So I'd like that you also recognize that there's at least a plethora of different options people can try, right, as we're working on taking charge of our mental health.
I'll just pipe in real quick. I always say something, and I think Miguel's really taken this to the exact level of what I talk about, is something is always better than nothing. Just sweating a little bit, like just like you said, like it shifts your mind. Those 10-minute, the little 10-minute workouts. You don't have to spend 2 hours in the gym. You don't need that. You just need these little spurts of energy to kind of get, like you said, wake up your body a little bit and get into mindfulness, like the mind-body connection. So I think that's really important that you speak about it. Thanks, Miguel.
Yeah, it's been and I do that so much more for, again, it's not like an aesthetic thing. So I think, if you're if you're trying to get into the best shape of your life, this is not a recommendation for that.
Correct. That's right. This is not tour. That's not tour life like training. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Your summer body is not coming. 12
Off 10
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah, 10-minute, 12-minute workout. Yeah. But you will absolutely feel a lot clearer. And, it's been, I mean, just in terms of productivity too, I mean, again, I would highly recommend like Tools of Titans or Tools for Titans. It's a massive book. It looks like a Bible or an encyclopedia. But there's like hundreds of stories of like people who have achieved extraordinary things in different areas, Olympians and, moguls, inventors, so on and so forth, tech geniuses and so on and so forth. But one of the common things across the board is these people who are highly productive are very much aware that they have to get some sort of physical activity in. They do something for their headspace, their mindset. I would highly recommend I do a 6-phase meditation. It's about 12 minutes long. You can Google this. You can just Google our 6-phase meditation, and it goes through mindfulness, forgiveness, your the way you envision the next 3 years, today, how you envision the day. It covers all these bases that really help kind of the framework of your day and how you're going to attack everything, and really put things into perspective, which I think is a massive benefit when you have perspective. When you're in the middle of something and you can't see outside of it, it may feel like you have all the pressure on you. But if you can climb a little bit higher and see what's happening around that, and that maybe you don't have to, which way to go, it makes things a lot easier. And in that same way, that tool in itself really helps kind of give that framework. So highly recommend that.
Yeah, I love that. Six phases of meditation.
6-phase meditation. Yeah,
6-phase meditation. I'm gonna add that to my list. That sounds awesome.
Oh, it's fire. And you gotta let me know when you do it, if you do it, how it worked, because I just love to recommend things that work for me. So hopefully it helps. Yeah,
I love it. So if we're forward thinking, what are some like hopes and wishes that you have for the future of the mental health space? If we're thinking of our kids that have gone through a global pandemic, adults who have gone through monumental changes in their life during this time. And I recognize that there has been more of a conversation around mental health, but I think there's still a lot of work to do, right? So what would you say are some of the hopes and wishes that you have for the future of the mental health space?
I think my biggest hope is that it becomes as, if not more, sort of promoted in terms of prevention as our physical health. We growing up, we heard you should get your physical every, twice a year and so on and so forth. I feel like I would hope that in the next 5 years, we're at the point where, having a therapist is normal.
Right.
Especially for ethnic people. Because there's so much tied up in that, in sort of the cultural, what is and what is in bounds, out of bounds culturally. And the more and more we can sort of start to unravel those boundaries as to what is okay, what's not, what it means, like to be Black, you're expected to be strong, to hold it, keep it together despite, whatever you're going through, and to just keep pushing. And I think that's admirable. It because it's really helped those who have been able to transmute any of their pain, their experience, depression, or the injustices they've seen, and so on and so forth, trauma. I think it's pushed them. It's been at the core of really pushing them to get to their highest heights. But in that process, they've also learned that you got to have some release at some way, shape, or form, and access is probably one of the most, the difference between what is accessible for people who have been systematically oppressed in comparison to those who have not is completely different. So in the next 5 years, I hope that, access for mental health on a regular basis is way more normal and easier to access. I also think that it's a real short. It's amazing to have spoken to be speaking to you as a doctor, as a therapist, being ethnic, because it's so hard to find ethnic, people who are doctors in the space and who share some, and that's the thing. We're always looking for commonality, to get comfortable. It's like, I'll never forget my dad telling me this, and my father has a master's in psychology. Will not go see a therapist, and
interesting,
right? And I believe it's a cultural thing. He's like, well, I mean, what are they going to tell me? I'm going to go talk to someone who's never experienced anything that I've experienced in my life. How are they gonna know how to? And this is someone who understands psychology and just human psychology in general. So I do think that that's a big, it will help bridge the gap. The more ethnic doctors, therapists that we have, I think the easier it will be for people.
For sure. I think he's frozen a bit. But while the connection goes back, I 100% agree. I think that there's definitely this gap that exists in the practitioners that are available for people. When people come and they're looking for mental health support, almost always people want someone from their same culture, right? They want someone from their same background for that relatability purpose. And when you don't have that, not that it will not be a good experience, right? And hopefully he can pop back in. It just makes it a little more difficult. Let's see if he can pop back in. Let's see. Thank you all. We're just giving 1 second, seeing if we can get Miguel back in. If you want to put questions, we're going to, if Miguel can come back in, we can, if you put them in the question, hit the little question box at the bottom of the screen, and then we'll go through those questions there. There's a million comments, so it is really hard to get through the questions in the comments. But if you can put them in the actual question section, then we can answer your questions. Let's see if he can go back in.
I'll shoot him a text real quick.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And then in the meantime, let's see. I don't see him yet. I don't see him yet. In the meantime, if you all want to go to broderickandco.com/Miguel, you can see more about the work that Broderick & Co. does, the work about tangible movement. Let's see. You back, Tori? I'll give them a second. As I was saying, if you want to go to broderickandco.com, broderickandco.com/Miguel, you can see the work that Broderick & Co. does. We do mental health education, online courses, trainings, workshops all over the nation, and tangible movement. Information is on that landing page as well if you'd like for them to do some work within your organizations with young people. Both of us are really trying to make an impact, especially within the younger market and working with young people. So we're really trying to make sure that we can make an impact for the young people as well. I can't hear you, Tori. Let's see if we can get Miguel back. Mental health education, yes. That means that we are talking about things related to mental health, so understanding the different parts of mental health, the things that make up mental health, as well as strategies, skills, etc.
He's kind of gone now.
Okay, cool. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we'll wait there a second. Again, if you want to, it's pinned at the bottom, broderickandco.com/Miguel to learn more about Broderick & Co. and tangible movement as well.
Are you getting questions in the question box?
There's about 28 of them.
Okay, yeah, because I can't see them.
Yeah, they are coming in. So we'll wait for Miguel. If you do have any questions for Miguel or for any of us, you can press the little question mark box at the bottom so we can get your questions answered while we wait for Miguel to hop back in. Does Tangible Movement have any events coming up?
Miguel's back.
There he is. Yeah, there he is. Send request.
Hello, official Tiana.
Let's see. There he is.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, that was a good nap.
Yeah, I had to go meditate for a quick second.
I thought we would go to the a little bit of Q&A. We've got like a bunch of questions that have come through, so I can't see them. So Christina's going to go ahead and ask them.
Excellent. Let's do it.
So the first is, where would you say someone that suffers with anxiety and perfectionism should start to cope?
Ooh. Where would I suggest they start to cope?
Mm-hmm.
Man, perfectionism is really challenging when it comes to creativity. First and foremost, nothing and no one is perfect. So to hold oneself to a standard so high is admirable in terms of wanting things to be excellent. I think there's something admirable about pushing things to be as good as they possibly can be. But in terms of sanity, in terms of one's own mental health, it's a very intricate balance. And I think we're in a time now, because perfectionism can be applied in a number of different ways. And I think people can be perfectionists in some ways and then not be. So I'm not sure how this means, but I would highly recommend seeking professional advice. I think because there's so many variables, what kind of like perfectionism in how their appearance or their work,
or their worth too,
or their worth. I think there's a lot. I think when you're dealing with, and that's a very intricate one. Professional advice, highly recommend.
Yeah, and as a full-bodied Virgo, I am like,
right.
I am the perfectionism. Even being in the mental health space, being a therapist myself, going to therapy, it is like the consistent struggle. But it's the willingness, right, to one, be aware of it, and two, do the work to help unlearn some of the things that I have internalized, right? And then once you can, and that's coming with the help of a professional. And then once I'm able to start really digging deep and, why am I attributing my self-worth to certain types of extra or external factors, then I can really start to relearn some new strategies to release that perfectionism that I have. For sure. It's a work in progress.
It's never ending.
Progress, not perfection.
Yes. The connection between mind and gut is so powerful. Are there better foods to eat that promote better mental health?
I like this analogy. I'm not. Are we like? Did I freeze up? Sorry about that.
Nope.
No, you're good.
So I like to preface that I'm not a super healthy, extra healthy eater necessarily, but the body is built to regenerate, is built to replenish. The more energy the body needs to break down food, to rebuild itself, it's gonna take that energy from somewhere else. So though I like to eat, I enjoy eating meat. I enjoy, things that are probably not good. I mean, I love, Doritos, the Tapatio Doritos. I can't get enough of those things. Definitely not good. I'm pretty sure there's like loads of MSG in there or something that's not good for me. But yeah, the more raw the building materials are, the better and easier they will be for your body to use them as building materials for your body. And I think the more I think of that, the more conscious I can be when I'm going, okay, well, I ate filet mignon Sunday because that was our, Sunday dinner. So maybe during the week I'm going to stick to more plants, stay more plant-based. I will also recommend intermittent fasting. I think had a quick moment, but for me, in terms of what's worked for me, it's really helped even just like my perception of food. Because what the purpose of food and what it serves, another concept that Tori introduced me to, and I think a lot of people who are working to get in like really good shape, food is fuel. And it serves a purpose. I'm in a place now where I want to enjoy my life, so I can't be, egg whites and and oatmeal, protein and vegetables only. I want to taste my food, but and it doesn't mean that healthy food can't be tasty, but I'm just saying I think balance. I think realizing what food is there to do, keeping all that in mind, you can find your own balance. But I absolutely would say that a big thing is like understanding your own body, what's good for your body specifically. I think this idea that everyone, like, a high protein diet may work for that person, and then another person, maybe their body's not built to process meat like that, and so or animal proteins like that, so they do more rice and beans, which has been proven to be the kind of check that box. Not everyone is the same, not everyone's built the same. You kind of got to do the personal work.
And that's what it kind of comes back to. And we can get caught up in doing what we see on social media and trying all these different fads. It's like, you got to do what's best for you. But you don't know what's best for you until you really do that, like, exploration.
It's the realest. It's the realest.
There's a really cool question I think that'd be awesome for you to answer. How can creative expression help young people address mental health concerns?
The best part of being able to create, and that's my job, is in the process, you sometimes even reveal things to yourself that you're processing. And it's even better when you don't have the pressure of creating for a job. So I would say just allowing yourself the space to explore how you feel in a productive way, whatever that is. I mean, skateboarding is creative, and it's also physical, you know what I mean? Or if it's a sport, I mean, the creativity is everywhere, Creativity is essentially problem solving from a less like, what is that called?
Like analytical?
Exactly.
Less analytical standpoint.
And I guess that's probably a very analytical way of putting it, but expression alone, just getting it out from here is so powerful in terms of just dealing with it. I think that's also one of the reasons why having a therapist and working with a therapist is so cathartic, because we deal with things up here so much, things that we don't want to say out loud or share with anyone out of fear or out of, shame or out of whatever. And being with working with a therapist, they kind of give you that space. And when you get to the place of trust, you're able to say things that sometimes just saying out loud, you hear like how not real that is. And so then the next time it comes up, you can just go, nah, that's not really me. That's how I've programmed myself, or I've become programmed to think, or it's become a habit of thought. There's a big separation. Again, I know I'm veering off topic, but a big separation, an important one for me, was realizing the difference between me, myself, who I truly am, and the way that I think. The way that I think is something that I learned from watching television and being around my parents and my cousins and my aunts and uncles. Had I been raised by completely different people, I would probably think differently. If I
Right.
watched different movies and listened to different music, I would probably think differently. If I
Right.
spoke a different language, I would indeed think differently, because different languages connect ideas in different ways. So
Right.
when you start to separate yourself from you, who you truly are, your soul, your body, and the way that you think, then you can start to go, ooh, I'm in control of how I think. I'm in control of my body. Who I am is not these things, you know? And the more I'm able to lean into those, to my power of over those things, the better I am prepared when some of those bad habits of thinking, bad habits of acting and behaving, I'm able to be a little more in control of those things.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And it's so cool as a therapist seeing people go through that. I have a client who has made substantial progress, and now in sessions she'll go through that. Like she'll talk herself through, right? She'll go through some of these like self-limiting beliefs, some of these cognitive distortions, and then she'll start to correct herself as she's like actively talking and recognizing it and making the shifts. So it's real, it works, right? But it's all about, right, being able to get out of your head and start to process and understand your thoughts differently. Back to the creative expression portion of it too. Positive psychology, one of the tenets of it for us achieving happiness and thriving is about being engaged. And I think through creative expression, it allows us to really get into that true engagement. Like we lose track of time and like we're just really involved. So then there's actual research, right, that says that that's really monumental for our mental health as well.
I know that Miguel's time is super, super like precious, and he's got all stuff going on. So I just thought we'd cut in with maybe some final words, Miguel, that you might want to say.
Man,
before we wrap up.
yeah, I would love to.
Time went by fast.
Yeah, it goes by. It's crazy. Wow. Last words. You are worthy. Super powerful. You are worthy. You're worthy to feel great about yourself. You're worthy to believe in yourself. You're worthy to achieve whatever it is in your mind is the place for you. You are worthy of that. Getting there is going to require work, inevitably. Some of it is internal personal work. Some of it is physical work. Some of it is spiritual work. When things are not in alignment, you can tap in on one of those things. It's one of those is the issue. You know what I mean? When things are not happening, it's either something in your mindset, it's something in your execution, or it's something in the way that you believe. But trust and believe that they're connected. So I think the biggest and most valuable thing I could say is that you can curate how you sort of how you deal with all of this. You can curate that by simple attention to those three sort of variables. And I'm just here to remind everyone that it's possible and that they are worthy and their resources. There's nothing to be ashamed about, because everyone is working through something that you don't, and even their closest friends don't even know about. So keep going, don't stop, and I love you.
That's great. Honestly, Miguel, you're amazing. You know how much I love you. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on and answer questions. And Christina, those are great questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is really a great learning experience for me as well, you know. So again, thank you. And you can reach Christina at her page. You can reach me at my page, and you know where to reach Miguel. The GOAT.
Christina, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for being here. I love talking all things mental health. So I will reach back out again.
I'm tapped in now. I'm tapped in, so we're good. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm gonna get the mind gut stuff going for myself. So thank you for that tip.
If you need to, I'll send you a photo of the specific one I use. But there's a bunch of them. And I'm following you now. So yeah.
All right. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Well, thank you everyone for being here. Make sure that you're taking charge of your mental health this month, right?
That's right.
I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Later, Tori.
See ya.
All right,
Bye.
guys.